This program is brought to you by cable franchise fees and generous donations from viewers like you.
Hi, my name is Timothy Lovett. I'm from Lorain, Ohio, and I am the founder of Comedy as a Weapon, located in Western Massachusetts. I grew up in Lorain, Ohio. I come from a big extended family, and all my cousins, we were very close, and we all lived on different sides of town, but we would all meet up on the west side. When I was coming up, that was the time like gangs were getting very, big and publicized, and so we used to have to fight a lot. We lived in a house, but we lived in one of those situations where we just had enough. We had the house, we had cars, but everything went to that. So I often found myself in the hood, hanging with my cousins or my friends, and we would hustle. We would do things that teenagers would do, chase girls, play sports. I was on the wrestling team. I was on the football team. There were high school sports. There was lots of things to do in Lorain as far as resources for kids, but it was still dominated by the welfare system, the projects. So it's those sports and those activities were for the people with money. If you didn't have money, you didn't get to do those things. My father, he worked at U.S. Steel. It was a steel mill. My stepdad worked at the Ford plant. So I feel like my dad, to keep up with my mom and her new husband, he would basically, try and get me whatever I want just to make up for the time. But my dad was also a hustler. So he would give me hustle money. I learned the game from him. So I would do whatever I had to do. I would sell newspapers. I would rake people's yard. Me and my friends we formed this little landscaping company called TCB, Timothy, Kevin, and Bobby, TKB, Timothy, Kevin, and Bobby. And we went around and asked people, can we clean up their yard and we could take out their trash. We had a little jingle and everything, and just knock on the door and start singing, and we made some cash that summer. TKB, Timothy, Kevin, and Bobby, TKB, taking care of business. Well, I'm Timothy and I'll cut your grass. Well, I'm Kevin Chafin and I'll take out the trash. And I'm Bobby, they won't give you no hash. I'm just here to collect the cash. My first job was at McDonald's, and even though I used to work at McDonald's, all my friends was hustling on the streets. So therefore, to hang with my friends, I used to hustle on the streets. And then while I was hustling, I just had a baby girl. And she was about 3 months old. Now, I didn't really spend a lot of time with her. I would just throw her money, just come and just, give her my money, go back out hustling, give her my money, hustle. Then I get a call one day, and it was like, you gotta come over. Your baby girl's dead. And my baby, she died of SIDS at 3 months. And so in the funeral, the preacher, he was doing his sermon, and he was like, there's a message in here for one of y'all. God is sending one of y'all a message, and there's a message in this. And I took that personal, so it was like, I just left everything and moved up here. My sister lived out here, and she just came for the funeral, came back to Lorain for the funeral, and I just left with her. never went back. You know, when I was doing okay, I sent for my kid's mother, and she came up, and you know, it was just life from there. We didn't work out. We got married because she wanted to go to the Army. But then she found out she was pregnant, so she couldn't, and you know, the marriage didn't work, and we split up. And fast forward, you know, we just went our separate ways, and there was things that, you know, that all happened all at once. I remember it's like the IRS like froze all my accounts. My son needed, you know, money he was leaving for college. He needed like $1,000 for his rooms and things like that. Can't remember exactly what it was for, but I had it, you know, and I just couldn't get to it. And, you know, I was just having a lot of problems at work. So, you know, I went to, you know, talk to, you know, the woman I was with, and things just went south from there. It caused, and that was the basis of my incarceration. There were some things that she said I did that I didn't do, and I was too scared to fight the case, so I took the plea, which ended up being, they wanted to give me 5 years in the penitentiary. I wasn't built for the penitentiary. You know, I'd done a couple overnighters, I'd done 10 days for fighting. I wasn't built for the penitentiary. So I took the plea, and I ended up spending 25 months in Hampshire County Corrections. I feel the impact it had on me as a black man, I knew I was being railroaded, but there was nothing I can do about it. I didn't have money to fight the case. But the impact it had on me was a negative, but also a positive one, because the negative aspect is because, you know, I'm locked up. I lost everything I worked for. But that was also the best thing, because everything I was working for wasn't the person I was. It was, you know, who I had to be. I had to work to take care of my kids. I had to just try to maintain. And it's so hard to get help from the system when you're a man. When you're a single man, and you know, they're like, well, are you able to work? You know, I'm like, yeah, but I got this and that, this situation. They don't care. They don't care. I asked myself, you know, if I got the chance to start my life all over, who would I become? Who would I be? And when you're in jail, it's like you get a chance to think. You get a chance to replay every argument, every situation, you know, good or bad, like, and you see all the sides of it. You start putting things together like, well, what could I have done different? Or, you know, was this person really for me? Or, you know, had my best interests at heart? And you start putting things together, and, you know, and you realize how strong you are. Like, when you look at it, you're like, man, I did 25 months, and I got no letters. I got no visits. Well, my son visited me a couple times on his way back and forth to college. Somebody I thought was my friend took all my money out the bank and bought a stove and a refrigerator, took my car and gave it to her niece. Her niece thought it was some other dude's car, and he tore it up. So they sold it. They didn't put any money on my books. So I went back to what I knew. I hustled in jail. You know, I opened up a store. Anybody listening to this, you know, just Google a jail store. So I opened up a store and just hustled from there. I had to do people's chores to make money, and then with that money, I invested into my business there and grew it. And I was actually, you know, I actually left jail with money. Yeah, so I mean, the hardest time I had in jail was when I sent my daughter a birthday card, and it came back returned to sender because my kid's mother moved into North Carolina without telling me, and ordered, like, told everybody that we knew together not to tell me. So that was the hardest part, like just sitting in jail every day, your name never being called for mail call or anything like that. And then one letter that you do get, it's like return to sender. So. I was able to maintain my mental health because I cared. And I knew that was only a temporary situation for me. I had an end date. And you go in jail and you hear a lot of people talk about that. Well, I got an end date, you got an end date, and it's gonna come. Time is gonna pass. So what I did was I educated myself. I met a lady who's still one of my best friends, Alexis. She was my GED teacher. Like things like that. Like I was always afraid of trying, like getting my GED because I didn't think I was smart enough or whatever. So, in there, I got my GED. I begged to go to school because I'm one of those type of people that need input. I read a lot. I wrote a lot. She's like, Tim, you should write. Alexis was like, Tim, you should write. You should write for this magazine. You should write for this magazine. Here, answer this whatever question, prompt question. So I wrote something. I won. That's how I ended up getting money too. My articles got published. And so they sent me, stipends or whatever. I read, I wrote a lot, going through all the programs they offered, If they offered something, I tried to get in it. I worked out, but I knew, like, when I had a chance to start my life over, I wasn't gonna be the same person. And that's what kept me sane. The crazy thing about it, as a black man, we go into court and we don't even think that's wrong because we think this is what we're supposed to get. It's so normal that this is what we're gonna get. Like, I used to see people who weren't black, weren't of color, come in and out for the same crimes, in and out, getting 3-month sentences and, 90 days or 6 months, just in and out. And then the first ones to get probation or parole. And they told me that I was too smart to go to minimum, and it scared them. But you would see all these same people come in and out like 3 or 4 times. But as a black man, we're used to that. We're used to being on the other side of it, getting it worse. Cops come through the neighborhood. We don't feel safe. We feel like we're gonna get messed with. The thing about jail is it doesn't make people better. It makes people worse. I am a better criminal because of jail. I am a better person because of me. So I was released October 2012. Well, one of my friends told me I could stay with him. When I got there was no electricity in the apartment, and then they told him I can't stay with him. But we did go to the strip club that night, and this is fresh out of jail. I had no ID or nothing. So I couldn't get in, but they went to the strip club anyway, and I just sat in the car. So, rather than deal with that and try to, try to reinsert myself in that life, I just came up here and got in a homeless shelter. Pre-COVID, the homeless shelter was open from 4 to 8 in the morning. You would have to leave at 8 in the morning, rain, sleet, snow, hurricane, whatever, you would have to leave. So, and there's times, middle of February, it's cold. So to get out of the cold, I would, go to these AA meetings and, have a warm cup of coffee, maybe a donut, or, something like that, just to get out of the cold. And, they never, questioned me or made me feel like, well, you gotta speak, or this ain't the meeting for you. But, they were a very welcoming community. And, so It's just something that, that we did, or we would go to. The homeless, when you're homeless, you find a community. It's weird. You find kinship. And even though you got these people who are nothing like you socially, you find some kind of common bond, and they all look out for each other. Where there's meals over here at this church, or there's meals at this community center. And so we used to hit those together, and just to get out of the cold, go to the library just to get out of the cold. And I remember one time in the library, because I still used to read. I was in the habit of reading, because my address is the homeless shelter. They wouldn't issue me a library card because they said we don't issue people library cards with this address. It was the library situation that it was the first time I ever really felt like homeless. You feel it when restaurants and places make rules like you have to buy something to use the bathroom, or you have to buy something to be in here, and and you feel that, and that's Northampton, So I vowed never to go to those places again, even when I got on my feet. Me navigating through homelessness, I worked with a case manager. And what they do is they try to help, what a case manager do, they try to help you navigate through homelessness. They try to help you get the things that you need. They give you the tools that you need to get off the street. So I would work with them close, and both of them were very good. Madeline Johnson, if I needed a suit for an interview, she had so many connections. Like, hold on, let me make a phone call. Yeah, can you get Tim a suit? Bam, I have a suit. Yeah, we need he's gonna need a ride to his interview. Bam, we got him a ride. So she had so many connections, and it was like, there was no excuse that you couldn't make it, when she was handling your case. Mike Tremblay was up here, and he knew how probation worked, so he would always stand with me, write letters if I need them. Like, here you go. Give me tasks to do. He would, me and him I would volunteer every holiday and cook at the homeless shelter when I eventually moved out. He was the one who got me my apartment. So when I moved out, I would still go back to the homeless shelter and volunteer. And then they were like, Tim, we're gonna hire you. I'm like, okay, whatever. We're gonna hire you. So they brought me an application, I filled out the application. So they went and talked to him on my behalf, and then they got me hired. And I was a residential counselor, providing direct care to the same homeless shelter that I lived in. So I interviewed for the case manager position, and I became a case manager doing the same thing that was done for me when I was in the shelter. And the models that I have is Mike Tremblay and Madeline Fernandez, who always went hard, always had connections, always stayed late, came early, and really stayed with you until you didn't need them anymore. When I applied for college, when I applied for STEC, community college, I applied for STEC. The placement test, the test you got to take before you get in there. I took it while I was incarcerated, but they had no record of it. So it was like, so I went to get it from a different college because they was like, oh, it was sent to this college. So I went to go get it from HCC. They didn't have it. Well, I did get a copy. I took it back, and they was like, no, it got to be sealed. So so I took a bus back from Springfield to Holyoke to get it sealed. The next day, I took a bus from Northampton to Springfield to take the results that were sealed. And so I go back to Northampton, and I come back the next day so I can enroll, and it's like, we never got it. And I was like, it just wasn't meant for me to go to school. And she was like, you know what? And I never forget this look on this smug white woman's face. She's like, if you can take a test right now and pass it, I'll let you get in. She's like, if you could write an essay, I'll let you in. I just sort of like looked, like smiled. She was like, I wrote that essay, and she was like, this is good. This is good. This is misspelled words. I'm dyslexic. This is a couple misspelled words, but this is good. And that's how I got into college. And so I was in a shelter, and I told them my plan that I got into college, and they were like, well, how are you gonna go to college from here? And I looked at dead in their face. I was like, I will graduate college from a tent. I graduated from Springfield Technical Community College in 2016 with a computer science IT security degree. Actually came to Bishop's two times before all this happened. And that is where I met Kim DeShields. And I'll never forget that story. I was very interested in comedy. I was in the lowest point of my life. I was looking for something different. So I walk in to Bishop's. I forgot where I heard about it at, but I actually came up to Bishop's Lounge, and I see one of the only other black people in the room besides myself. I talked to her ear off. I'm trying to get the game, like, what do you do? How do you structure jokes? Is it easy and whatever? And she was like, are you funny? Do your friends think you funny? And I'm like, yeah, I'm the funniest one of my friends, You know me, I'm doing the whole Tim Lovett thing and lying. Basically, I ain't never been on stage. I'm like, lying, but, I can perform at the lunch table. And she was like, well, hold my purse. Classic Kim DeShields line, watch my purse. And so she goes and, gets another drink, come over, and I'm still talking to her or whatever. And then all of a sudden, then I hear, we got a virgin coming to the stage tonight. And she's like, give it up for Tim Lovett. Like, she went and signed me up, man. I didn't even have time to be scared, man. I don't even know what I said, but they laughed, and it was good. Like, and I always try to pattern myself after that. When it's when it's showtime, it's go time. I was actually started going to Bishop's regularly when I was in the homeless shelter, and I had to be back at the homeless shelter by 9:30. So I would go in, sign up, do whatever. And I remember like running home on the bike trail to the shelter. But as we progressed, I noticed that out of town comics would come from Connecticut, wherever at the time, Chicopee, whatever. There was a lot more like comedians in like different Western Mass areas and coming out of Connecticut, coming to Bishop's. But no Northampton comics would get put on their shows. So there was another local comic doing shows already, but it was just like Bishop's Lounge was just doing comedy over here. So I was like, why don't we put on our own show? So my very first show was at JJ's Tavern February 14, 2015. And there was like Timothy Lovett Productions or whatever, and it was so successful, and I was like, wow, why haven't we been doing this? And so that's when I started getting into production of things. And I remember one day I was asleep, and I always do my best thinking at like 4 a.m. Like I'll sleep, and just 4 o'clock in the morning, it's like I discovered the cure for cancer, and I was like, comedy is a weapon, eureka. And the logo and everything just came to me at just one time in the flash. And ever since then, it was like, comedy is what we're gonna brand. We're gonna have t-shirts, we're gonna have lunch boxes. We're gonna have everything. We're gonna have a shoe collection. It just reminded me of Kiss, the band Kiss. And I remember hearing a quote one time. It's like, why every other band was trying to be Kiss, Kiss was trying to be Coca-Cola. So I was trying to be Coca-Cola. But everything was backed on my love for comedy. Like I love making people laugh. You know, the energy that they just have, like they come in and you just see their face light up in the energy, and they're just so light and fluffy because they're relieving their stress through you. If I had to give anybody advice, I would really say, be who you are. Be who you are and always look downfield. Sometimes we get pulled in a lot of different directions, or we think because we messed up or we're in these situations that, we can't go forward or be who and what we want to be. But I mean, you can. You just have to always keep going in the direction, that you want to be. Like you have to keep going down the road you want to go to, and all those things. Everything is possible. I mean, look at me. Little Lily from Lorain, Ohio. Now I'm Timothy Lovett. Comedy is a weapon.